So I think that that's something that's really important. There's not really a name for what it is that we do right now, because we cover a lot of things that ad agencies do. We cover a lot of things that branding companies do. And we also provide production services. So
there's no definitive aquarium.
there is no name for the type of company. A lot of people call them hybrid companies now.
You're revolutionary, like George Washington.
Yeah, we are revolutionary in the media business.
How did you come up with the name aquarium?
Aquarium, that's a great
Because that's the name of your company. Your
aquarium
company,
is
right?
a name.
So, okay.
Is it fluid?
In many ways, yes. I would say yes. That's a great analogy. No, what we actually have a reason for that name, and the reason is we're across. We are the place where creativity and technology meet. So we have to come up with ideas for marketing companies, help them answer their problems, help people brand their companies, and then we have to actually deliver. So we have to actually use technology to deliver on this via television, via the internet, a lot, even via print, in the form of this. And so that's what we do. We're a place where the nexus, basically, where creativity and technology meet. So the name aquarium is really an analogy for what it is we do. So
And this was what you did for you. This is the branding, this is the technology. This is how the name Princeton TV 30 is resonating in the community through the psychedelic. This is like a Rorschach test, so you can see in this what you want to.
we also have a T-shirt.
I like the T-shirt.
Is it the rising sun? Is it the kaleidoscope?
I did the show for the T-shirts.
Psychedelic George Washington.
Yeah, it's sort of like Andy Warhol.
Is it Andy
like,
Warhol,
it's
George
like,
Washington?
It's sort of like
very
screen print,
yes. It's a Rorschach test.
modern art.
I'm glad you guys said all the references, which I love, including Andy Warhol. Yeah, there's a lot of pop art reference there. I worked on this with a lady called Sharon Alice Murray, who you both know.
Yes.
And she's one of the many people that I collaborate with. So that's something that Sharon and I have worked on. This is a great idea, we think, just because George Washington was a great revolutionary, and he was also a great orator and a community organizer. He was known for wanting to hear from his men, not just speaking out to the crowd.
But he also held men together. He could
did.
lead them.
Well, so we thought a community television station in Princeton would have no better icon than George Washington.
And some people wanted wanker ideas or something.
Like what?
I don't know, but I like George. Some people say, don't do George, it's generic. And I go, what are you talking about? It depends how you present George.
Well, have a look on your money, and if George Washington's on it,
Yes.
it's good enough for us, right? And so that's one of the things I've been doing recently. That was a real pleasure, because our client was a guy called George McCulloch, who you know, and he's a very easygoing guy, very open-minded creatively. And we resolved a couple of branding issues there in terms of what's the name of this TV station. Some people who had been calling it TV 30.
Yeah, I had.
Some people called it Princeton Community TV, and so we just said, we're just Princeton TV.
It's on FiOS too in 45.
And we exactly so we've decided to just call it Princeton TV. So that's one great campaign that I've been working on, and apart from that, I've also been working on a late night. You'll like this, a late night TV talk show that's airing nationally across the United States with a guy who's 23 years old, and he's the youngest host in late night TV, and his name's Jake Sasseville.
How can we watch him?
Where is this? Is it on NBC or is it CBS?
This is on different networks across the country, over 25 million homes. We're on Fox, we're on ABC, NBC in different markets, or you can go to edgewithjake.com and also see it online, the way you can also see this show right now online live.
So it's sort of like the comedy late night type of show.
Exactly. It's a lot of comedy, and it also encompasses something which I really like, which I've seen a bit of on this show, which is behind the scenes, because behind the scenes is sometimes even more interesting than what's going on in front of the camera.
So this is on Fox regular TV?
It's on late night TV in different, it's on in places like Anchorage, Alaska, Houston, Texas, Des Moines, Iowa.
This guy funny?
He's very funny, and more than funny, he's successful. So what I've been doing is working with him in terms of they have a lot of sponsors. Sponsors pay for the show, so they've got people like Airtran, Denny's, Fuse, and I can't think who else right now, Overstock.com. So basically the idea that is that the sponsors pay for the programming. So what I have to do is come in and liaise with the two different entities, being the content creators who want to make the show, and also the advertisers who put the money into the show, and make sure each group's individual goals are met.
You got to hit all the media streaming you can, though, because a lot of people are watching everything on the computer now.
Well, especially the younger generation is much more savvy in terms of viewing video online, so it's something to consider, and that's something that I wanted to say. You know, there are a lot of people watching now all over the place who are saying, I don't have the huge budgets of a Coca-Cola kind of company or Microsoft, but the fact is, if you're very clever now, the media is in such a position where, you know, anyone can set up a Facebook site or a blog or a Twitter Twitter. And I mean, you've got celebrities who are doing Twitters now. You know, like Ashton Kutcher was twittering from the White House press correspondence dinner a couple of weeks ago. It's possible to actually set up a whole media spend and a creative solution to getting your brand out there in the world without spending millions and millions and millions of
Well,
dollars.
I mean, look at the show today. I mean, you know, I have friends from, almost none of my friends are from Princeton. I'm not from Princeton. I don't even get this channel where I am. And, you know, I let a lot of my friends know about this through Facebook. And I have friends from Argentina to California to Florida who watch this. And I watch this Princeton TV show, and I think that's awesome. I really appreciate it, guys. You're all awesome.
We all do. We have actually 400 Facebook friends right now who are Princeton TV Megathon Facebook friends. So that's a good core group of people. And we also have the blog, which we've been able to send the media to. We've obviously sent out press releases to the media to get the word out, and we were very successful in terms of getting Princeton Packet front page yesterday, and we're very thrilled about that. But most of the information from there, interestingly enough, came from the blog. So, you know, a blog...
You're actually writing your own press.
Yeah, so you're actually, exactly, you're creating your own media outlet. So to be in advertising now, that's what I mean when I say a hybrid solution. To be in advertising now is not like being in advertising 10 years ago where you say, oh, let's make a TV spot and just run it on air. There are many, many ways that you can be hitting your different target audiences, you know, from the most simple to more complex solutions. So it's pretty cool right now to be in the media.
I thought the blog idea was great. I mean, it looked great. I think it looked fresh.
Well, you looked good because you were blue.
You're blue. You were the Buddha.
Oh, I was not the Buddha. I was Krishna.
Krishna, sorry.
Yeah, I was painting myself blue.
If you go to the Princeton Marathon TV Mega Marathon blog, she's all blue.
Yeah, I do things like that. I mean, it was just a costume, but a lot of people really liked it, and I guess it was eye-catching. So.
Well, it's the same as this. There's no point when you've got something exciting to tell the world about, like this Princeton TV Megathon, to be quiet about it. You know, it's like you said, it's pop art and Andy Warhol and very loud visually, and your blue face really helped us because I had a good number of young gentlemen who said, who is this Nadia lady? So we know that you were gathering the right sort of attention.
Because they were just like, what is this weird freak?
Yeah, no, they liked it.
They're like this weird freak girl. Just like, oh, well, what do you think? Here's what you got.
How can we break through the clutter, though, and our fame be recognized?
That's a great question that pretty much every client I have asks me this question, because it is possible. You have to think outside the box. You know, when they always say you got to think laterally, you actually have to think laterally and look a lot at your competition and what they're doing and what they're doing incorrectly and what they're missing out on. And then you basically have to be very strategic in terms of targeting to where they're missing, because it is cluttered, Adam. There's just so many messages bombarding us all every day on every single front, and more each day.
Yes.
So you have to actually sit down and strategize a lot. So a lot of what I do before I actually sit down and help come up with ideas is to come up with strategies, come up with it's like, you know, being a coach in football. It's like, okay, what's the weakness of our opposing force here?
And where do we go at them?
And where do we go at them? Where's their weak spot? Where are they missing out on it? And so basically from there you come up with campaigns and ideas and solutions that help you get where no one else is getting and achieve your goals.
So how do people come? Oh, sorry.
No, I was just asking you. I mean, you obviously have a lot of experience in all this, working in this field for as long as you have, and I was hoping you could actually mention your background. I had mentioned MTV and some of the different things you had done, but you'd be more of an expert on that. So
yeah, my alma mater is MTV. I run Aquarium Creative Agency with my husband Beau Tardy, who's directing us right now. Which camera? Robert's camera. And we actually met at MTV in New York, believe it or not, and all those cool, crazy ads that you would see on MTV back in the, you would remember this,
80s.
especially the late 80s and 90s. That's the sort of stuff we were doing. So we were doing all the very fast stuff.
The Neil Armstrong little segue.
Yeah, the really fast, crazy, zippy stuff.
That was the best part of it.
That was the good times at MTV. Now I don't really know what MTV is anymore, but I'm sorry, you know.
Well, that's right. I know it's a different. It's just
a different channel. It's
now.
a just different channel than it was before.
Absolutely,
changed,
so. Times have changed, and there have been other solutions that have come out since.
Like not playing music, sorry.
Exactly.
So
and there was no iTunes and all that sort of stuff before. But that's where I started in the States. I was an advertising copywriter before that in Australia, but Australia is a very small country, only 20 million people in the whole place, and so
it's a big country, but not a population. Right?
Exactly, and so I pretty much hit my head there after a while and said, I've done as well as I can here. I'll go to New York. And New York it was, and MTV it was, and so I also worked on the team that launched MTV Asia, And
I love MTV Asia.
That's a different thing, isn't it?
I mean, when I was in Bangladesh. I was in Bangladesh. Maybe I was 12 years old, 24 now. But let me tell you, MTV Asia, they had a thing called VTV, Channel V.
Yes.
And that's all throughout Southeast Asia, South Asia, and even the European MTV. It's just music. All these, they play African music, they play Brazilian, they play Latin American. It's just a hodgepodge of amazing music.
Kyle Minogue.
And I loved it. No, yeah, but I mean, a lot of pop. But I really liked that. I really felt that there was still music. There's a lot of freshness to it.
Yeah, it's every market you go into with something like MTV is you really have to customize and localize and know what's going on inside the heads of the local audience. For example, when we launched MTV Taiwan, we found out that teenagers were not rebellious. They just would not rebel. So therefore, there was no point putting out any sort of fun campaigns that were like, stick this to your parents by being cheeky.
Do your own thing now.
It didn't work, because they weren't into that sort of as a cultural group. So that was different. And MTV China is again a whole different thing because they have strict censorship laws in terms of showing body parts and so forth. So we played a lot of Whitney Houston at the time because that checked all the boxes. So you can imagine it's really interesting from an anthropological point of view, understanding a brand and understanding the culture that goes with it. So it's not one size fits all. You really have to dig into it and take it very, very seriously and take it in depth and get on board with your clients. And basically you create partnerships with them where you get to know them, their markets, their customs, and their corporate culture as well, really well, So I have to say right now is a moment in history and media history where these things are evolving really, really fast.
Right.
Very rapidly. I mean, within a few months, something comes up that revolutionizes everything all over again.
The record
and it wasn't
industry
there.
is changing in 5 years, 8 years. It's just changed.
Well, they didn't have Twitter 12 months ago, and now everyone talks about Twitter, and that's the latest thing. So it'll be something else, as you said, in 6 months yet to be invented down the line.
iPods, iPhones,
exactly.
Everything. I don't even have an iPod, but
well, I think we're doing really well by Ustreaming. We've been Ustreaming now for more than 24 hours on this particular broadcast, and so that is a fantastic media outlet for us. We're worldwide.
And I think the accessibility is another big factor. Is that people. I think a lot of people do feel like they have to run and play catch up to a lot of these things, but I think this information superhighway has almost become this information like superhighway at the speed of light.
Yeah,
at the speed of light.
Yeah, on steroids. It really.
Absolutely, and to cut through, as Adam was saying before, you have to be operating on multiple levels simultaneously. So let's say you do a TV show, you also have to have an interactive media online experience that goes with that. There's no point doing anything now unless you've got an online composite to it as well. So I think. Yeah, exactly. You have to have a website that works. Obviously we can't be on air everywhere in the world, but we can webcast everywhere in the world, and we're doing it successfully.
The webcast is accessible by obviously there's censorship laws, but mostly by anybody in the world who has access to the internet, and I think that's a very powerful thing to have that accessibility.
Yeah, that's true. We have people on our Facebook who attended Princeton University but are now in different parts of the world, and so obviously they still have that connection, that emotional connection to Princeton as well. So we know that those people have responded to us online just because of that connect with Princeton as a home base at some point in their life.
How do people how do people contact you?
Oh, that's easy. Online.
Aquarium?
They can go to aquariumcreativeagency.com, and I will certainly answer any emails that come in. If anyone has any media inquiries or if they want to know more about maybe ways that we can possibly help them, we're always open. We are happy to be Princeton TV Megathon supporters because we are located here, but we do operate wherever. We've operated in Hong Kong, we've operated in Paris, we've operated in Australia, where I'm from originally, and because we're near the media hub of New York City, we do a lot, obviously, with New York City at the moment, which is this project I'm working on, The Edge with Jake, right now.
I got to catch up on that.
I will send you the URL so that you can watch it online, just as people are watching us now. So I'm thrilled to be here. I think this has been a huge success this year as well. So you guys are doing great, considering you've been up, 30-something hours?
There's a Twitter in my head, kind of, so to speak. My head's twittering. Quickly, what about Mel Gibson, Australian icon?
Fascinating story, isn't it?
Yeah, what do people think about in Australia? He was broken up for a while with his wife, or
well,
$52 million.
He's been sort of like losing it. Yeah. I mean, I'm about to turn to Mel Gibson in the next hour, but at least have a reason.
When he became Mad Max, it was almost like he became Saint Mad Max. So it's like the man can do no wrong.
And he thought so too, as well.
And he thought so, definitely.
Recently.
Yeah,
the Passion of the Christ made him it was just huge.
I think it grossed over $800 million internationally.
But it's not even just the movie; it's his attitude after that.
When he got
God, first, I don't even know.
But he's a movie. Apocalypto is still an interesting movie. He's a movie maker. The man is a man.
Well, he did Braveheart. Braveheart's still, amazing. Every guy loves Braveheart.
And according to the gossip, he had to pay his wife $52 million a year with these 3 years he's been separated, so she wouldn't say anything about his affair and now separate, girlfriend, his Russian girlfriend.
Yes, who may or may not be pregnant.
Really?
That's not very Catholic of him.
Like I said, he's Saint Mel.
He's Saint
Saint Mad Max. I don't know the guy personally, as you know, but it's I can tell you about the culture of Australia and how that would be regarded, and it would not be regarded that negatively.
What he's doing.
Little lead back.
He's a man's man.
You know what I like about The Passion of the Christ? That not only was it a movie that grossed $800 million, none of it was in English.
Yes,
it was an Aramaic.
That's a good point.
Right. That always fascinates me. That people in the Western English-speaking world accepted that, even though it was completely subtitled. So
right.
I always find that interesting about that movie.
Well, the story is somewhat timeless, and people know it. So, but also the free publicity he got was amazing because it was so controversial.
Yeah.
I mean, just the hype before it was great.
And the whole church groups and everything. I mean, he really hit something. I mean, with America, with its puritanical vein of just,
they all went to see it. They're the $800 million bucks.
Right.
They went
and
to see.
he was born. Mel Gibson was born in Long Island.
Yes, he's a New Yorker. Yeah.
His family moved to Australia because of the Vietnam War or something. He said.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's right.
Interesting.
Big Catholic family. How much time have we got, Robert? Are we good?
Ooh, let's go.
10 minutes. Oh, that's awesome. Let's talk about the media. What advertising campaigns do you guys like that you've seen? Is there anything that's knocked your socks off?
You mean on any
medium, anything at all?
I like the Princeton Marathon, of course.
That's good.
Of course.
Do you notice ads at all? See, that's the thing.
I'm almost numbed. I'm almost numb by them. I have, but I just don't really pay. I'm glazed over.
Yeah. I mean, I actually don't watch television. I just don't. I mean, it's again the whole consumerism thing. I sort of like turning myself away from it. Obviously, you're on the internet. You see ads flashing by. I think, obviously, in America, you can't avoid advertisement. But I think. I think we're also sort of indoctrinated by it. I know you're in advertising, but I think you recognize as well as sometimes it could be harmful and a little even sort of the brainwashing consumerism effect. But I will say that one example of ads I love. I mean New York City. I'm in New York City all the time. I don't really watch TV, whatever, but I love the ads in New York. I actually do like the iPod ads. I thought that iPod has continuously been really fresh.
They're well done.
The ones that are silhouette look.
Yeah, I mean, even though the original one came out years ago, they're still doing different shades and different, it still looks really cool.
And what about branded entertainment? Let's say you're watching a show, for example, and they do a makeover of a house and it's sponsored by Sears. Do you think that's an ad, or they actually call that in the business branded entertainment?
Well, it's the way they're going to have to do things lately, because again, with lots of people watching TV, you have to put the brand in the show. To see, more.
Well, in movies, I mean, obviously they put big brands in movies as well.
Yeah, I know they introduced one of the new cell phones in the Charlie's Angel movie, and they made that a big part of the plot. And they're actually
you're going to see more and more of that.
Yeah, there are actually companies who set up there who will call you and say, "Oh, we've got a new Charlie's Angels property, and would you like to have your telephone in there? We've got a spot there for a telephone to be branded."
For how much?
And then they do a negotiated deal.
I will tell you, this is not. It is advertisement. It's not the typical, Gap or whatever, but a lot of human rights groups, a lot of social justice entities and nonprofits, I love their ad campaigns. One example is a place called girleffect.org. I mean, they use things like Flash.
Tell me what they're
called. It's called girleffect.org.
Okay. Yep.
And it's just, it's about sustainability and in developing countries by empowering young girls, and sort of building up the economic structure that way.
That's very impressive. I just did something with the American Cancer Society, try to get young people to stop smoking because it's the cool thing.
Yes.
And it's like working with those people in the non-profit area of American Cancer Society and working with the youth market, you just go, wait a minute, but it's such a powerful opportunity to get those messages out. So you can use the media for good as well. So let's say, like smoking sucks. is going to get you eventually, you know.
Yeah.
But these young people don't really have any idea of their mortality,
Yes.
so they're like, okay, it's uncool, and guys don't like your smoky breath. Okay, let's get them that way. But there are very many areas where you can use the media to positive advantage to raise funds, for example, for non-profits,
Exactly.
etc.
I mean, there's like, you know, the anti-landmine groups. I mean, some of them are bigger organizations around the world. You know, I was actually at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. It's one of my favorite museums, and they actually had an entire section on advertising that was part of the modern art, one of the displays, and they had a lot of great things about HIV information. A lot of the HIV ads for safe sex, contraceptive usage in France and Europe, and some of them are very risque, but you know, they're very clever.
Yep.
And I will say that those, and I've seen those ads in other places. Some of them I've seen on the internet. Because I work within human rights circles, I do get them, and I will tell you, I mean, it catches my eye, and I am like, I get impressed, like, wow, this is so cool. And I would even say it impresses me more than the ads I might occasionally see on TV, I might occasionally see on billboards. So I will tell you, that's probably, to me, some of the coolest stuff I've seen.
In Asia, there's more, I'm guessing, more print work that's done. Is that fair to say? Like billboards,
Oh, like
posters
Japanese and like the Korean stuff?
No, I mean
you
like in places like Bangladesh and in India, you know, the images that strike me are of great big billboards, you know, advertising. But I know they're also a very net-savvy population, in India at least, I know that, and it's very much high-speed internet and so on. So television, though, is not so popular as a medium of choice for entertainment. I mean, for the younger generation in Southern Asia, what would you say about that?
I mean, I haven't had contact with Southern Asians since I was 12, so I don't really have any.
So it's changed.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have any idea of what's really going on there at all. And anything I know is through New York, really. I mean, New York is such an international city. I mean, I have many friends who come from other countries, and I know what their influences are and where they get, where they get what they think is cool and all that. One example, you know, like Louis Vuitton did something with Murakami. You know, and I thought that was really cool. That was actually a really cool thing. And when they're the pop artists, you know, I mean, you see this in here.
So so you're appealing to the style and so on. What about you, Adam? Humor? I'm guessing
No, Sarah McLachlan advertisement, ASPCA for the dogs.
Yes,
they have Depression era. It looks like the pictures are very stark black and white, something you take during the Depression. And she's singing in the background. You see dogs in sad states, with this slow narration saying they don't deserve to be here. They didn't want to be. I found that very effective.
You were already a fan of animals before that, though, I'm guessing, right?
But I think anyone who watches, and they say that's raised the most money, those ads, than any other ASPCA commercial.
So it's a guilt thing? You think?
No, I think it's also you're seeing in the soul of something innocent and deprived, and you should be able to help it more.
That's fair.
And I think sometimes you might have a penchant for something. Like, you know, for him, he does have a soft spot for animals. For me, I am interested in human rights, and I am interested in fresh things, and I love culture and international, and I love art, pop art. So when I see these things, and I think a lot of young people actually really do. This is a very sexy thing to us, and it looks cool. And I think that, so when that's applied, and, you know, advertisers are very smart. They look into many things. Nothing's made blindly. And I think it's really appealing. And I think in a lot of ways, good is done from it.
Yeah, that's fair to say. I was just working with these guys who do the late night show, and they do things sometimes. Their shows are a mix of branded entertainment and just pure entertainment. So sometimes it's interesting the context in which something is placed. For example, they got some live skunks from New Jersey, and they took them down to Wall Street, and they let them loose, and they just filmed what happened. And there was no client or sponsor associated with that particular segment. But within that 30-minute show...
Wall Street. Yeah,
I know, it stinks down here,
yeah,
right?
Right?
But associated with that, there were other segments that were branded content. And what's really interesting to me is to try and gauge what's the right mix that's respectful of the audience, where they're not going to say, oh, this is a big sellout, or, you know, I accept this. I know this is an ad, because people are very sophisticated now in their comprehension of when they're being sold to. And I don't think people like any form of hard sell at all, really, especially...
Well, in America especially, we associate that with cheap, being pushed, being bullied.
Exactly. So you have to somehow entertain. And I know when I worked in London as well, they're much more into the idea of entertaining people into buying a product rather than here it is and it's sham,
there's some great
wow.
commercials. England has very witty commercials.
And they do that because the culture demands it.
Right.
You know, because you know, it's like you have to give me something funny if you want me to look at your brand.
Right. That, you know, you don't insult me, at the same time prove you're worthy of an extra look.
And you know the Truth campaign, the anti-cigarette campaign. That was actually quite interesting. Actually, it was quite really in your face. But
I always thought the best weird Abby Hoffman, when he went to the the visitors platform at the Wall Street Journal, he threw money down, dollar bills down to see, and he filmed it. And all these people on Wall Street just stopped everything and they're scurrying for the dollar bills. He was making a symbolic point.
Absolutely.
It was amazing advertising for him and his point to them.
Yeah, for his point of view and his political thoughts. Have you guys seen this great short piece that was done at Grand Central Station where they got 100 people to basically freeze at rush hour?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
At Grand Central Station, and it wasn't for anything specific except it was like a happening basically, and they filmed it. And I almost think that that's what you're talking about much more with, like, it's modern art in a way. You go to the Museum of Art and they'll show you video pieces as art now, which you didn't see 20 or 30 years ago as much. Maybe Nam June Paik or someone like this, but now I feel that the way that we're all going to be communicating in the future much more, and I don't know if this is a good or bad thing, Adam, you'll have an opinion on this, is via video rather than via books. And I know there are college courses, very many of them now being taught by video rather than sit down and read this book. What do you think about this as an educator?
I think it's where it's an educator. I'm a social worker more. No, but it's
are.
where it's going. It's just what people are raised. The computer is their friend. They want to use it. It's their book, and I can see it happening. I think the computer's changing. It's bigger, better definition. Everything is going to come from a computer, or it's going to be like the TV.
It's funny that you say that about the definition is changing, because Bo, my husband and business partner at Aquarium, we were just watching Ustream this afternoon, this year's show on the internet, and we said, wow, isn't the picture so much better than last year? Because we did this last year, Nadia, and it was a lot more crunchy and rough looking, the images. So the technology is growing by leaps and bounds, where it's still a little less than broadcast quality. You're watching it on Comcast, but it is going to get there.
Hula is the beginning of this. Hula. I mean, TV is just going to change so much. And the 40 and up, we're the last generation. We're behind the 8 ball with all this stuff.
Well, I mean, one thing, you were saying about the Freeze project. There's, how I found out about this was people on Facebook posting videos saying, oh, look, check us out, this looks cool. Someone sending it to me on a Twitter link. And then it just gets spread like wildfire. I mean, I literally have seen videos that are just so amazing, just so amazing, so cool, and just honestly, just revolutionary. I just feel like it's just so
revolutionary,
modern.
folks.
Exactly, and the word of the day, it's like Pee Wee Herman's word of the day. But I mean that's a great. I think that's a great way of transmission of ideas, and maybe this person who
can be bad though
art
too.
Al
Qaeda. It can go both ways.
There's a double-edged sword with
That's
everything.
right.
Again, with great power comes responsibility, right?
Yeah, right. Adam, Rupert Murdoch calls himself a digital immigrant, and he says, my young daughters, he's got kids who are like 5 and 6 years of age, he said they're digital natives.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm never going to be as savvy, it's never going to be as intuitive and as comfortable as kids who are born now with all these digital options that we have had to learn, especially people of Adam and my generation. We've had to sit there and learn it after we learned the other system,
Soon there's going to be a newspaper club for people who like to read newspapers that will meet to read the newspaper together.
The economy, newspapers are falling apart.
That's interesting, because newspapers are closing up all over the country right now,
It's only going to be niche newspapers, I think, like a Town Top, which is free. It has a good following, and people know they can advertise.
That's interesting, because local news doesn't keep up on the internet, so I think it's a real niche, this local news opportunity. I got the packet yesterday because I wanted to see the front page, and it was 75 cents. But, it's a reasonably sized town with a very good newspaper. So, I think that's a niche where it will continue to exist, but the big papers, Chicago Tribune, for example,
they're bleeding money.
They're not doing well.
Well, we got to wrap it up with Marich. You can, again, reach her at
aquariumcreativeagency.com. Aquariumcreativeagency.com.
And, it was great speaking to you. And it's
good.
It was a pretty awesome conversation.
The future is now, and she'll brand you on so many levels.
Yeah, with what is that?
And you'll like it.
And you'll like it. And you'll like it.
And you'll
Thank
like
you,
it.
Mara.
Thank you so much.